Good evening. Welcome to the Boys Bus. It's just gone 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, so you know what all that means. It means it's the Tuesday ticket. And of course, I'm always joined by my Tuesday ticketing chum, Phil McGinley. Phil, how you doing, mate?
I'm absolutely great, mate. Fantastic. Celtic still cruising along nicely in first place, as Odsonne Edwards said, top of the table, and all going good, mate. So yeah, happy days, mate.
And as you can see, obviously Regan isn't with us this week. Regan is busy tonight, so it'll just be the two of us. But we always find stuff to talk about, Phil. We always find stuff to talk about on a Tuesday, and of course we didn't come on last Tuesday evening because we felt that by the time that we could come on and do the show would have been pretty irrelevant within the first turned out 5 minutes of the game. So
yes.
So we just decided, like, we'll just not bother, and obviously we knew that there was going to be a post-match, obviously on later. So if you're all wondering where we were, we just decided to take a night off, and we probably wish we hadn't bought. But we can get talking about that. But before we do
Celtic
that, of course,
took a night off that night. The whole team seemed to take a night off as well.
Apparently so, yeah. But before we get into all that, we'll get all that good stuff out the way. All that good stuff means give us a like, give us a share, buy some hair. Become a Boys Plus member for a small cost of $1.99. All our content is absolutely free. That is just your way of supporting the bus, keeping the wheels on the road. There's no added or extra content, but we appreciate it either way. Of course, you can subscribe, hit that bell button. You'll know when the bus is on its way. And of course, piesports.com. Get on there for your tasty pastry treats. You get 12.5% off at the checkout with the code BUS1888. Well, there has been a lot going on since we last did a Tuesday ticket.
Aye.
And of course now it's international break, so the dust is now settled, and we can obviously just kind of have a wee chinwag about the season so far. All good. There'll be bump in the road, of course. And what lies ahead for the rest of the season. Obviously, those of you who have been watching the Tuesday ticket since we started doing it, it is the show where we do all the news, gossip, and hearsay. Of course, there isn't much news, gossip, or hearsay to talk about at the minute. So this is why we're going to change up the format until the new window opens, of course, when all the rumour mill starts. Phil, I thought it'd be good to let our Tuesday ticket comrades in the community to maybe use hashtag TT, so we can highlight up some of their comments that maybe they would like us to specifically talk about, kind of like what they do for the TNF, because it's good to get a good chat with those commenting in our little community that we've got going on, Phil.
Okay, no, that seems fine. I thought you were going to say hashtag TNF, and I was like, well, we've already got a banner for that one, but we don't want to encroach on the copyright of the Thursday Night Forum.
Don't need that. Cease and desist order getting sent from Mark. Don't want that.
No,
just
definitely
the judge
not.
turning up at the door. Cease and desist order.
So we're settling on TT, so something like that.
Oh, look at that. Brilliant. Yeah, so just put hashtag TT. If there's anything that you would specifically like to talk about, we can maybe have a wee debate about, or just a wee blather. It'd be just good to get you guys more involved, since we have less stuff to maybe mull over in terms of the rumour mill. But Phil, where do you want to start, mate? Do we go back to that? Do we go back a week? Do you want to talk about it? Will we feel a little bit better if we talk about it?
Oh, mate, honestly. Well, Friday night I had a bit of a chat with Pam and Liam. It is what it is, man. We got to do, and you know, the same mistakes have happened enough times in the past. What can you really say? Have we learned from it? We'll find out. Obviously, the next one's obviously Atlanta. One of the things I did bring up on Friday is obviously some of the reaction has been a bit of hysteria. I've got a very similar mindset on this, and I mentioned this on Friday night to Mark, of all people, because usually Mark is the polar opposite to me in terms of reaction. But even after that tanking last week, I still thought, well, the fixtures that are still to come and the way the fixture list has come out, we're still in control here. Ultimately, Celtic's goal is just to scrape through to the next round, the knockout round. We're not going to get in the top 8, to get the automatic, through the round of 16. We're going to have to go through the playoff round. Is the top 24 attainable? Yeah. With the fixtures are still to come, yes. We shouldn't be losing 7 goals. We should still at least put up a bit more of a fight, especially because Dortmund showed at the weekend that Union Berlin, Juranovic's team, turned them over, I do believe. So they are there to be got at. And of course, they get beat by Stuttgart as well the week before. And yeah, we just froze on the night and made every single mistake that we normally do. And it's done now. The next game, obviously, is Atalanta away and then Leipzig at home. I'm saying on Friday night, if the fixtures weren't those two next, I think the reaction might be a bit more calm. If we had, say, Young Boys of Bern and Dynamo Zagreb as the next 2 games, then I think, the hysteria that came out of Tuesday night would be a bit more subdued. But I think the fact that they're the next 2, but we get them out of the way. Hopefully, we're not still on 3 points after 4 games when those fixtures are all said and done. But yeah, we have to do something different for when we go away at Atalanta, who are the reigning Europa League champions. So it's going to be a tricky night, that one.
Yeah, mate. I mean, they're arguably a much better side than Dortmund when you look at Dortmund's run of form up to the game, and of course after Tuesday night's game, you've just said about them losing again to Union Berlin, a wild Josip Juranovic was no doubt probably playing in that fixture. Go figure. But yeah, what you say, the things need to change, and I think a lot of fan media have had this debate. I know certainly Bhoys has had it since Tuesday. You've said it again there. Rodgers, on the other hand, he obviously doesn't feel that there does need to be change. So what is that? What is this change that we're after then, Phil? Because the manager seems to be like, I know you're wanting change, but I'm not. He's almost being to the point that you could argue he's been stubborn in terms of the approach. Now, before a ball was kicked, obviously last Tuesday, I think a lot of us probably didn't expect to get a result in Dortmund. However, there was good reasons to be confident of there being a chance. Again, Dortmund's form being one thing and our form being another. However, we tactically set up in a way that almost was so, I don't want to say disrespectful of Dortmund, but maybe just a bit overzealous, maybe a little bit too confident in our own ability. Certainly Rodgers had too much confidence in his team's ability on the build-up to it. And I think a few of us could have maybe got sucked into that as well. But it was quite apparent very quickly that we were far too open, far too maybe didn't show them enough respect. And maybe Dortmund showed us a little bit too much respect in terms of how they went about their business. Because I don't think they expected to run over the top of us as quickly as they did, or as easily as they did. Now, that then gives Atalanta a point of view now of going, okay, so the Celtic side isn't as good as we all thought. Now, that makes me worried about the Atalanta game. And I'm like, well, there has to be, I know Rodgers is saying like, well, this is the way I play and, we have to just cut out the mistakes and everything will be all right. But, I mean, I don't think football's not as simple as that, is it, Phil?
No, it was what he said on Friday. He made it sound like it's very black or white, really. It's one or the other. There isn't any in between here, but there has to be, because I say lesser teams have shown that they can go to teams like Dortmund and get a result. We've seen in the Champions League over the years, teams can go to the big dogs and beat them. I think it was Sharif, who were from Moldova or something like that, beat Real Madrid in the Bernabeu a few years ago. So these things can happen. There is a hybrid out there that can be found. For me personally, when you look at, I know he used the analogy of look at the teams in Scotland that come to Celtic Park and sit with 10 men behind the ball, a low block, and they still end up losing like 4 or 5-0, which a lot of the time is the case. But teams like Dundee and stuff that come to Celtic Park don't have guys like, say, Dyson Maeda, who is perfect for games like that. He was one of the few, I say always shining light, probably scored the goal and he had a few decent moments, but the game was gone. he's a great weapon for the types of scenarios where I know he's not an out-and-out striker, but I would say, pack the midfield, pack the defence, and just have Maeda as a free roll, essentially. Just knock balls up to him because he can run for days. And just try and keep it as tight as possible because, we cannot allow it. Because the worst thing is, and we saw it again last Tuesday, is once the game begins running away from us, it really runs away from us. Again, Neil Lennon said it on commentary at one point. He went, "No, even at 3-1, they're not out of the game," which in theory is true. No team is really out of the game at 3-1, especially midway through the first half. But with Celtic, you feel that we're out of the game at 3-1 in these European nights because, after that, you could just see the heads were down. There was no system. Everything had just fell apart, and it just snowballed from there. We cannot allow ourselves to get into these scenarios. We have to somehow stay in the game, even if we do fall 2 goals behind. There's still quite a chunk of the game left. Just consolidate, get through half time, regroup. But I would say that guys like Dyson Maeda and also Kyogo for his movement, these are the type of guys that can benefit us in these types of fixtures, but we just did not. Just everything just went to pot really, really quickly. And see, it's done now. We move on. We did bounce back, obviously, with a win, which thankfully came. We struggled a wee bit, but ultimately, I'm happy we got the points. It was always going to be a tough game on Sunday because down in England, they talk about the cold Tuesday night in Stoke. That's always the example they use for a stodgy game, awkward conditions. And not every game is going to be fantastic to watch. You're going to get these awkward ones. And up here in Scotland, we've got Dingwall, small park, a team essentially of cloggers. They're going to make it difficult for us. It was stodgy. We've had a few games up there in recent years where we've had to grind out the result. Anthony Ralston, the 98th minute, springs to mind. And we got the points on the board, and that's all you can really ask. Even the Invincibles 2016-17 season, we had some stinking games like draws up at Inverness. But, we got through it in the end. Not every game was the same as a 5-0, 6-0 victory. We still had wee sticky games here and there. Ultimately, didn't lose. They got the points, and that's all you can ask for.
Phil, do you think if we had played that Ross County game before the Dortmund game, we might have approached it slightly differently? Was playing St Johnstone that was a terrible performance for St Johnstone. They were awful as well as us being tremendous. But if we had played a more difficult, stodgy game away from home, rather than just walking over and destroying a team 7-0, do you feel that maybe after that was a bit of a harder one? Do you feel that we may have approached the Dortmund game slightly differently? Do you think that could play a part in the mindset of the players?
I don't know. I think the opposition kind of plays a part as well because St Johnstone, I think it's fair to say, are the worst team in the league this season. Ross County, I know much better, but again, we could have had a sticky one at Ross County before Dortmund as well. It could have been another one. They just made it awkward for us. For these things, we just won't know. But the St Johnstone game, everything just clicked. But also, Dortmund, just everything just clicked for them on the night, and there's nothing we can do about it. So again, it's one of these hypothetical questions where you can't really. We'll never know. Essentially, I can see what you're getting at though. We could have played Ross County before Dortmund and could have beat them 5-0. It could have been one of those days. I think the Dortmund game, they just did obviously knock the wind out as a wee bit. So on Sunday, it was just a case of whatever it takes to get the win and just go into a national break on maximum points, then we'll get it done. So we got there in the end. Go with the season candidate from Alistair Johnson. Fantastic finish there. But although in all seriousness, the Nicholas Kuhn finish was well taken. It's one of those ones, once he was bearing down on goal, you just knew this is coming here. This is going to happen. Because even though the scoreline does suggest that, Ross County, had a lot of games, it was mostly one-way traffic. We were just misfiring up front. And there was a few games over the last few years that were a bit similar. I remember us playing Aberdeen up at Pittodrie a few years back under Ange, just after the World Cup. And it was a 0-0 up to about the 87th minute. But I just felt when I was watching it, that a goal's coming here, we're going to win this. And even there, when we were playing Ross County, when it was getting to about 20 minutes, 15 minutes to go, we're still a goal behind. I just felt like with the way the game was going, eventually we're going to find the net. And once we got the equaliser, again, I was still quite calm in the sense that a winner's coming here. It definitely is in the same. Once Kuhn broke away, that ball to him, that was it, man. You just knew what was coming once he cut in on that left-hand side, and yeah, nothing. Although apparently, sources say he should have been sent off. I see they were making quite a meal out of that one on Sky after the game. They would not let that one go. It's like a dog with a bone. Old Chris Boyd would not drop that one at all. And it's like, Jesus, man, did you not see that former Scottish referee, Bobby Madden of all people, came out on Instagram and said that actually the rules changed many years ago. It's now referees' discretion if they want to give them a booking. So when Chris Boyd said, "Oh, they must have changed the rules," apparently they did. Apparently they did, Chris. Aye. So there you go.
But you think a top pundit such as Chris Boyd would know that before going on and making such silly comments on national television? But
you would think so. Ian McIntosh sums up well. Boyd. Lol. Yep.
I mean, going back to the Kuhn goal, at the minute, he always feels inevitable right now. When he's bearing down on goal like that, I was fairly confident. I was 99% confident he's going to put the ball in the back of the net here. He is at that level right now. Whereas obviously when he came in last season, if he was bearing down on goal, I had very, very little confidence that he was going to score. So, I mean, the meteoric rise of Kuhn from last season, it's been tremendous. He's really stepped up this year. But he really, like you said, he did say, you haven't seen the real me yet. I mean, I guess we can all agree that he was telling the truth. I mean, he's been an excellent signing. Now his numbers are speaking for themselves, and they're only going to keep going up. I mean, I know like it's a bit. Some people don't like to combine the goal and assist metric and stuff, but like when you put it together, I mean, it's a very, very good start to the season, Phil, and hopefully this international break's not going to disrupt that. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does for the rest of the season. A couple of people want to discuss the form maybe dipping in certain players, though, and that would be the obvious one right now to bring up would probably be Rio Hatate. He seems to be splitting the fan base right now in terms of whether he should be starting games or he should be benched. Where do you sit with that one right now? I mean, there's no doubt his form has dipped when he set such a high standard for himself when he first came in, and even maybe right at the start of the season, he was showing a good higher standard in terms of form. But I mean, it has dipped, Phil. But is it dipped enough to warrant I don't want to say the outrage, but certainly the criticism that he's still starting games?
Well, again, it's this thing we've said before, but it's good headaches for Brendan to have now that he's got a bit of squad depth. Because if Hatate was in this forum this time last year and the way we were playing overall, it'd be a bit of a problem. But also we've got the options there to rotate around and bringing in Engels. Obviously, Bernardo's signed on full time, and Luke McCown has been putting in a shift, which we'll get to in a few minutes because there's some things I need to say about him. But Hatate, I brought this up on Friday about his body language. It was like the body language experts have all come out again, like they did during the COVID year, the year we try not to speak about, how John Kennedy wasn't smiling and stuff like that. All that stuff seems to be doing the rounds again about Hatate's body language. I just think that's just generally his demeanour. I don't think we can read too much into that. In terms of his actual form, though, we know what he's capable of, and he's definitely not hitting that just now. Whether has he actually really hit his top form ever since Brendan Rodgers took over? I think the signs were there early last season when he was even getting a game ahead of David Turnbull, and I don't know what it was, if there was something like Brendan was showing a bit of tough love. Like, no, you'll need to adapt to your game. You got it. I start every week under Ange, but with me, it's going to be different. Because he was kind of stuttery at the start of last season. Then he got injured, and then he came back, and he was injured again. But there's no doubt about it. See, when he did come back in March of last year, him and Carter Vickers' return around at the same time was a huge factor in why we won the league. I was quite worried because his first game back was Livingston at the plastic pitch against a team of absolute cloggers, and I was like, oh, this is not the fixture you want, a sort of flash player like Hatate. to be coming back to, but he cruised through that game, and then he just kept his form up the rest of the season. But yeah, this season is definitely not on the level it is. Again, people are reading into, does he want away? I think that's just people trying to put 2 and 2 together and try and figure it out. I don't know if necessarily that's the case. If he wants a move away, well, he's going to have to play better. He's going to have to, if he wants these big moves. And Rio Hatate has not been shy from day one about talking about his ambitions and where he wants to be. And that's great. We know what Celtic have become in the transfer market and the whole food chain. We know that players come to us for a few years, they obviously increase their value, they develop, and they move on to something bigger and better. But right now, if Rio Hatate thinks that, a Premier League team, a Bundesliga team, are going to be looking at him on his current form, they're not. So the only way he is going to get that is to obviously up his game. The Champions League showcasing what he's all about there. But right now, he is, again, it's who's the foreign player. I'd say Bernardo right now should be getting a start ahead of him. And a case can now be made, I think, for Luke McCowan, who many of us were a bit like, I don't know, is he just being signed? He ticks a box for the Scottish quota. Dundee, is it really an a signing that was going to bowl us over? I was in that camp. I was kind of like, do we really need Luke McCowan? But consistently, he's coming on and he's contributing massively in games. He was obviously involved, he scored against Hearts when he came off the bench. He was involved in the amazing team goal against St Johnstone. And obviously he contributed to the winning goal at the weekend there. And I saw Chris Sutton tweeting after the game saying about Luke McCowan's performances and using the word excellent. And that's consistently happening now, David. The word excellent is being attached to Luke McCowan when he's coming off the bench and contributing. So can a case be made that Luke McCowan could maybe be ahead of Hatate at the moment in the pecking order? And for him, I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, McCowan's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's coming in slotted in absolutely perfectly. There's been no pressure for him to come in and just start immediately as well. I don't think there was any expectation of fans to be like, well, this boy's getting signed, he has to be starting. So I think that's obviously worked in his favour. It's not kind of like the other side of the spectrum of Adam Ida coming in for nearly 10 million, or of course Arne Engels coming in for 11 million. There's an expectation that this boy is going to be automatically the best player in the league, and there was a good chance that he would struggle with the pressures. So far, Arne Engels hasn't shown that he is struggling with any pressure. There'll be a couple of poor performances, you could say, has caused maybe raised an eyebrow or two, which we can get onto. But sticking with McCowan, there was no expectation. Everyone was pretty much clear. He'll come on for maybe 20 minutes at the end, get maybe some cup games and stuff. He knows the league, he'll do just fine. But he's actually shown that he's more than capable of probably, like you say, unmerited starting games. I mean, this boy was a captain of another SPFL club. Yes, albeit Dundee, no disrespect, doesn't come with the same pressure of captaining Celtic or even just playing for Celtic. But we've signed a leader on the park there that's known the league, that's shot up the Scottish divisions fairly quickly and been a standout in the SPFL outside of the top two. So that is obviously, I imagine, has helped his progression and settle into the team. Go out and enjoy your football. You're playing for the club that you love and support, and all the fans are behind you, which is a massive, obviously, thing to have, like, driving you on to do well. And the boy's talent will speak for itself. Just go out and enjoy your football. And as you say, Phil, as other people have maybe seen another midfielder coming in that's playing well, perhaps they just don't handle that type of pressure very well. Hatate's kind of had it his own way since he signed, because obviously he was a favourite of Ange's, albeit merited, because I mean there's no denying that when he came in he was top drawer. Fizzled off near the end of his first season, but there's no denying there's talent there. But when a bit of competition's come in, it's like he's not really been too keen on it, and perhaps maybe he's just, now that he's got Bernardo's come back after a loan deal signed permanently, Aaron Engels has come in, 11 million midfielder. Luke McCowan, a boy that's signed from another club that's playing well. He's got one eye out the door already because he's like you said, he's not been shy of mentioning that he has ambitions to play elsewhere. Fair enough. You're not a Celtic supporter. You want to play in the top leagues in Europe. But to do that, you have to be able to show that you can handle the pressure and play well at this level. Aye. Never mind Champions League level. Even at this level, you need to show that you can handle the pressure. But Phil, I want to bring. Obviously, we put up the hashtag TNT for questions, so there's a couple of ones that have come in, and I think this one, Alistair Jack said, hashtag TNT. Why do us Celtic fans always need whipping boys, Hatate, Scales, Taylor, and so on? Now, I take a bit an umbrage to that, because why does it have to be a case of somebody being a whipping boy when there's constructive criticism put in a certain player's direction? When Scales was criticised, or maybe not, and certainly been said to, he's not good enough to be a Celtic centre back, at the time of those criticisms, he wasn't showing performances to merit of being an argument against that. The Taylor whipping boy, he's been deemed not good enough at Champions League level. I think once again, unfortunately, Greg Taylor's shown in Dortmund that perhaps it is just a step just too far. I don't like the whole whipping boy term, Phil, because I feel like it's a case of you can't criticise anybody. Everything's all rosy in the garden and everything's fine. So you can't improve or grow in any form of life without having some sort of criticism, constructive criticism, sent your way. If I was told that I'm doing everything great, like there's plenty of times that I've seen comments in the show that's maybe criticised my hosting or maybe my just my opinions on certain things. I've read them back and go, okay, that was a fair comment. I'll take that on board, and I feel like over time I think I've gotten slightly better at doing this. Same goes with a football. It's the same with my job. I can't just think that I'm the best at everything. And if somebody says, "Oh, David, I wasn't particularly keen on how you did that," or whatever, I'll take that on board and try to learn from it. It has to be the same for a football player. You can't just expect Tatty's amazing all the time when he's shown plenty of times that he's not. Just because at the minute fans are noticing more of Hatate's form dipping doesn't necessarily mean he's now the whipping boy. Yeah. We just want to see improvement and where there's room for improvement. That's all that is. So that's why I take a bit of an issue with the word whipping boy. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, if you're going to be in such a high profile public job like a footballer, you've got to be open to a bit of constructive criticism. Because if we know how good Hatate is, we're not making him a whipping boy and saying, he's shite all of a sudden we need to get rid. It's like the boy has shown what he can do. We know it's in there. But he's obviously had a dip in form. But when you sign for a team like Celtic,
some more constructive criticism. All right. That's right. There you go.
There we go.
Sorry. There we go. See, there's me, the whipping boy of the bus once again.
When you sign for Celtic at the end of the day, like even though we've got usually Champions League qualification, we get these high-profile games and whatnot. You're going to have to play these ugly games against teams like Ross County and Falkirk, because these are two of the games right away this season that people have pointed to Hatate where it looked like he couldn't be arsed. But he was fantastic against Slovan Bratislava on the Champions League night, because I was surprised when he started, because going into that game we all thought Bernardo's going to be the midfielder for the Champions League nights because we can't afford to give the ball away. Hatate gives it away too much. Hatate started and was fantastic that night. Shows what I know, shows what many of us know. He was great, but again, when it's all going his way and he looks up for it, fantastic that night. But then you're going to get these games where a bit like some fans might feel, a Sunday 3 o'clock kickoff or whatever at home to Falkirk. A lot of fans go to that game and are like, oh, God, man, can't we be bored of this? But you're the footballers out on the park. This is what you get paid to do. When you sign for Celtic, these are the type of fixtures you're going to have to play. It's not all Champions League nights. It's not all cup finals. Yeah, we do win a hell of a lot of trophies, but to get there, you've got to play these games against the Motherwells, the St Mirrens, St Johnstones. You've got to put in. So yeah, he's got to realise that, he's got to show up. And again, it goes back to my point about if he wants that big move, if he wants to get like a Matt O'Reilly level move, then he's got to obviously put in the performances, because he will drop it. I think Brendan Rodgers will be ruthless enough eventually to drop him completely from the team if he doesn't show his form. If McCown and Bernardo are performing him, then they get the nod ahead of him. But yeah, in terms of what I say, it's just a case of we just know how good he can be, and we just want to see that consistently. But right now, he seems to just be in a bit of a rut where some games seem like a wee bit of an inconvenience for him at the moment, and he's kind of picking and choosing. It feels like when he's on it.
So you can also sometimes you see and you think maybe he's just trying a bit too hard. Just go back to basics. Just dumb it down a little bit. Sometimes it's just like almost overcomplicating things. I mean, it doesn't come off. You can see he's hard on himself.
Yeah,
he is his own whipping boy, you could say.
Perhaps so.
And that's not a bad thing either. Moving on, Arne Engels, I don't know how you pronounce his name. I've heard it's not Arne. Arne sounds cooler though. So obviously he's hit the ground running at Celtic, but however, obviously the Dortmund game and then of course the Ross County game, he wasn't his best from what we've seen so far in me. But we have to remember he is only 21. He is still just joined the team. He's coming off a high. It's almost like the Hatate thing when he started up here. He started up here. I mean, there's a good chance you're going to start coming back down the way.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of people were like, sign 11 million for this guy. He didn't make a single difference in that Champions League game. I thought it was a bit of a harsh criticism to make, because yes, £11 million is a lot of money when it comes to Celtic spending that.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things in 2024 in European football terms, Champions League, 11 million. I mean, Birmingham spent £11 million on a player for League One. When you want to put it into some sort of context, I mean, 11 million is a lot of money for us, but in reality, so he's not really going to make that much of a difference in terms of like just completely changing the outcomes of our European nights. But I mean, in reality, Phil, he's been a great signing. I really like what I've seen of the boy, and he's only going to get better. We've seen improvements in a lot of players' games under Rodgers. I mean, I think it's safe to say that we will see massive improvements in his game already.
Yeah, Engels will be absolutely fine for us. He'll have an outstanding season, I think, overall, and his class will shine through. Yeah, you see, he's obviously started really, really high, but yeah, that Dortmund game, everybody was terrible in that one, so it's not a case of, we can't just rely on him to have pulled us through that one, because everything was going wrong all around him. So yeah, again, it's just a case of you just need to write that one off. And again, the Ross County game, it's a bit similar to what I was just talking about Hatate. When you sign up for Celtic, you're going to have to play these games against these awkward teams and these awkward grounds, and it's just going to be part and parcel of it, because so far, his performances he's been playing at the two games before that were at Celtic Park, or the Hearts game, and Rangers, he played against Rangers well, and obviously Falkirk, so he's had most of his games at Celtic Park. Obviously McDermott, we had it all our own way at McDermott Park, so his away experiences so far have been pretty good. But yeah, there's going to be those awkward games. It's going to have to play many of them this season. But yeah, I just think the performance on Sunday was just a bit of a hangover from what happened midweek, and it was just a case of, we're not going to play glittering football here as a team. We just need to find a way to grind it out. Say Engels wasn't particularly outstanding. Say not everyone was really outstanding on Sunday, but they found a way to do it, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. That was the most important thing on Sunday, even if we had to win ugly, and we did. So again, I don't read too much into the Engels dipped a wee bit in that game too, because again, I think his class will shine through, and at the end of the season, we'll be sitting talking about what a fantastic season he's had, because he does look like he's a class player.
Listen, this isn't going to be this isn't a strip show, right? So the t-shirt's staying on, I'm afraid. I've got rid of the hat. I ain't changing the shirt, right? It's not even 8 o'clock yet. It's not past the watershed, so we're not doing anything like that, all right? Jeezy peeps. A noticeable absentee from the Ross County game, Phil, it was of course Greg Taylor. Of course, when a player drops out due to injury, that therefore it brings opportunities for other players. Valley. I've got all these names, man. I'm just not convinced I'm saying them right, and that stresses me out more than anything. That I'm live on YouTube just saying people's names wrong. But
I believe it's. I think you were quite close there. I think it's a Valley. Yeah, I believe it's that. Yeah.
Because they don't use the L's in Spanish or something. Don't. Anyway, into the Valley, a wee Skids reference there. Well, I used to work for the brother of the lead singer of the Skids. Sweet.
Nice. The interesting fact there.
So I've met him a few times. He's a nice guy, huge guy, massive. Anyway, this ain't a music podcast. Right. Anyway, decent performance. I felt it's nice. It was good to see that. I think he was more of a standout against Ross County. Good, interesting to see what he's like playing with a more competent left winger.
Yes.
Not whipping anybody, Alistair, but it was good. I enjoyed what I was seeing from him. I think he's a clever little player, Phil, and I think he's only going to get more confident as he gets more game time. I think he's even got a couple of assists to his name already. Where are you with that then? Do you feel like this is a great opportunity for him to get a run of games, and he just might displace Taylor in the starting 11, or once Taylor's fit again, it'll be business as usual for?
We know somebody who would love that to be the case. Somebody on this channel who would definitely love that to be the outcome. I mean, he's got every opportunity. This is his chance. You know, an injury has happened to Greg Taylor. We said going into the season, we cannot, for the love of God, go into the season with just Greg Taylor as our only left back, because we deemed Bernabei not good enough, and we were happy to roll for the second half of last season with just one left back. But we finally get Alex Valley in. Obviously, finally gets his start against Falkirk, and it seemed like about 80% of the fan base has just decided this guy isn't good enough already, but despite the fact he had one, Lewis Palmer playing in front of him, and two was in a back line and never ever played together. And yeah, just obviously the two goals that we conceded against Falkirk, could he done a bit better upper body strength? Perhaps. Yeah, for the first goal, there was an argument, was it a foul, was it not? And then the second goal, he obviously is down on the ground waiting for a whistle. The whole team seemed to freeze, so it's not completely all on him. But I did think that people were judging him a bit too quickly. But let's see what he's got, and when he's playing alongside the more established first teamers, especially with Dyson Maeda in front of him to help him out. And so far, I think the performance he's put in has been good. I thought he was absolutely fine on Sunday. And yeah, you're right to point out about the two assists, because obviously he's involved in one of the goals of the season now. He gets that final assist for Adamida, the goal at St Johnstone, getting forward, playing the sort of elongated 1-2 pass with McCown, keeps his run going, and it's the first time touch to back heel it into Ida. So I mean, that's a fullback showing that type of skill. So yeah, he's definitely got something to his game. There's this whole thing about he signed a 1-year extension at Barca, essentially to allow him to next summer leave for like a transfer fee, because he's out of contract next summer. But I think they're talking about, what was it, 2.5-3 million would be the sort of asking price for him. And yeah, I mean, to me, it's, if he continues, comes in, he looks like he's competent enough to play at this level. We obviously have a big question mark over Greg Taylor, because he still hasn't signed any contract extension. There seems to be no talk coming out from anywhere about a new contract for him. Again, maybe Greg Taylor himself has just told the club that he's going to leave at the end of the season. That could be the case, because it's very rare that Celtic allow a player to get this far down in their contract. The last player, I think, who was in that situation was David Turnbull. And of course, he was gone by the January window to try and get some money. So maybe Greg Taylor is, spoke to the club and just said, I've achieved everything realistically that he can achieve at Celtic with what he's won. Maybe he just feels it's time for a new challenge. But will it be that Alex Valley, this is his chance to prove that he can be the successor to him? I say the few games that he's played so far, outside of the Falkirk one. So he had a lot of circumstances around it as to why it was a bit of a shaky performance. But I think the other games, I think he's done fine. So yeah, well, if Taylor's out for a bit longer, I'm quite comfortable with value playing at the moment.
If Taylor isn't signing a new contract, Phil, does Rodgers take the step of maybe not playing him then? Where would you be with that? Would you think, well, you're not to be utilise the player that we have till the end of the season because he's shown he's good enough for domestic level, certainly. Yep. I don't want to say he's not good enough for any other level, but he's certainly been good enough for Celtic for years now. So do you utilise the player that we have despite him leaving at the end of the season, or do you focus your attention on Vi and give him more game time in the hopes that Celtic have seen enough that he's good enough and affordable to go in and buy him permanently? Like, what would be the strategy there? Because for me personally, if Vi has shown that he is a more than capably good left back to take the jersey off Taylor, therefore I would certainly probably make him the number one left back at the club, because either way there's a chance that both of them aren't going to be club next season. And I think if there's a chance to sign Vi and very little chance that Taylor's going to sign a new contract, I would probably go with it for the Vi as the number one if he is proving to be a capable left back.
Well, I think at the moment it's still Greg Taylor's jersey, essentially. No, it's just he's only at the team now because it's an injury. But say value does his bit while Taylor's away, then Taylor could have a bit of a tough time when he comes back from injury. But I think we're going to get a clearer picture sometime after Christmas, because if we go by the new year when Greg Taylor's now in the 6 months where he's allowed to negotiate, that's if he's still here in the second half of the season. Because again, like David Turnbull, because he was playing right up until the January before his, his last 6 months of his contract, he was still getting game time. So Brendan was still quite happy to use him. But if Greg Taylor is still here after January, but around about the springtime, we start to see like value playing more often, then that might give us a clue that maybe Taylor is off-ski and maybe something's been agreed with Barcelona. I know we don't have an option to buy like with first refusal, but it was made very public about this is a transfer fee it would cost to sign value. So it could be around about the springtime. But at the moment, Taylor, I'd still say, is the number one left back. But with the injury, and I don't know how long Taylor's going to be out for, but in that time, say value could put in some storming performances. And then by the time Taylor does come back to fitness, it's what you want, though. You want competition. And you want the every player who is an established first teamer to think, right, if I don't put in a performance here, I could lose my place in the team. And the left back, as Liam has pointed out many times on the Friday feeling, is one that's been safe for so long. Mr. 90 minutes, Greg Taylor. There's nobody that's disposing of him from the team. Obviously, Bernabei came in, and that was just a fever dream, I think. At the end of the day, he just never, ever took to it at all. So Taylor's been pretty safe, but now we've got a boy who looks like he could be a player, and there's a realistic chance we might be able to sign him at the end of the season, because that price is definitely not ridiculous to be asking for. So, yeah, it could be that Taylor might drop out of the team. But the contract situation is interesting, because I can't see Celtic allowing a player that they can get any sort of money from. This is the Celtic board we're talking about. I mean, even when Joe Ledley was down to the last 6 months of his contract and we got about 300,000 of a Crystal Palace, they still pushed him out the door in January to get that money. Say David Turnbull last January as well. So to me, it feels like in January we'll have a real clear picture of where Greg Taylor's future lies. If he's still here come after the January window, then there's a good chance that he's probably going to sign a new deal quite late on in the season. Because I just don't see Celtic allowing a player like him to just walk away for nothing. It's different for guys like Rocco Vata, Ben Doak, who were obviously, in the B team, and they were coming through and their contract ran down and they got poached away by other teams. But players that have been established first teamers, Celtic will still be looking to recoup something for that. So I think that's going to be a big indication when we get to
it. Jim Dolan saying, what's with all these fucking adverts? Do the adverts pop up when we're live now? Is that a thing?
Yeah, YouTube's just basically got what's like most apps nowadays. It's all becoming very ad orientated. So yeah, adverts pop up, but it's different for different viewers. What I think, this is what I generally think YouTube are trying to do. There is like a version of YouTube where you can pay a monthly fee and you get advert free. And
They're
that's
trying
what
to
I
push
think.
everybody onto that.
I think YouTube are trying to push people to do that by doing that more, because it's out of our control. When we set up the streams, adverts are switched on automatically, but some viewers will see them at different times from others. But yeah, it's a bit of it's just the way these types of things are going. But there are certain things out there you can install on your browser that can stop adverts, put it that way. There is add-ons you can have for Google Chrome and Firefox and whatnot, and Microsoft Edge. Just one of those. If you know where to find it, you'll find it. But yeah, YouTube is trying to force people, I think, to, because I actually ended up buying it. I ended up buying the monthly thing eventually, because I was loading up videos and there was adverts playing before the video that I was watching. It was longer than the actual video, and I was like, this can't go on. So yeah, that's what they're doing. They're trying to grind people down. But yeah, when we're doing live streams now, they will insert adverts at random points during the show, and not every viewer sees them at the same time. It's just different for different viewers. But
I didn't know that. Oh
yeah.
well, there you go. That's why, Jim. I mean, they're doing
Yeah.
it on. They're even doing it on Amazon Prime. You know, you pay for Prime Video, and the whole point was that you're streaming. You don't need adverts.
Aye.
And now
But
they're
there's still
adding
the gloves
adverts into
saying
that. They've added
he was
adverts
getting
into
loads
that.
of adverts, but now he hasn't for a couple of weeks. So it seems to just be, maybe it's that fabled algorithm we talk about. Maybe it's that. But I don't know. The YouTube are basically just trying to frustrate you and just say, buy your monthly, whatever it is, $11.99. That's what essentially they're trying to do, I think. So yeah.
Bastards.
I know.
Bastards.
They find a way. They always find a way.
You bastards. Anyway, well, we've got just over 10 minutes left before we wrap this show up. What should we talk about, Phil? International break on now. Who gives a fuck? Like,
What is that? Yeah.
I'm so over it. I'm so over it. I don't give a shit about the Nations League. I'm tired of just trying to get myself up for that. I know you put a lot of effort into the Euros, especially when obviously Scotland were playing, but it was just I'm just a bit tired of it right now. I'm just a bit exhausted of it. It's not even I know Anthony Ralston will probably play, but and it was Cal McGregor's retired, so there's not much in terms of Celtic viewing, and I can't be bothered to sit and having to try to defend Anthony Ralston when he makes a wee mistake, against one of the best teams in European football, if not world football. And it's not good enough for international level. And it's like, well, he's not getting a game every week for Celtic. And then you're asking him to go up against Cristiano Ronaldo and co. Give the boy a break, man. I just can't be arsed with international football. Just get the club football back.
Especially after having a tournament in the summer. We should at least get a bit of a break for international football when there's been a tournament. But it's quite mad that we're 8 games into the season. The 7th or 8th league game we've played, and we're now on our 2nd international break, and there's another one to come. And it's just this Nations League that Scotland are just going to get weathered in. And I know they're kind of victims of their own success, because they're in what they call the A-League of the Nations League, like the top tier teams. They've actually been promoted multiple times now. England are actually in the set below us, which is bizarre. Wow. But yeah, we're going to get whipped in this group. We've already lost to Poland, we lost to Portugal, and I think we've got Croatia and Portugal coming up this weekend. So I don't see Scotland getting much better. But one of the sort of obviously good things that's happened this season is Cal McGregor's form has definitely went up, I think, since announced his international retirement. It was a bit of a weird thing going on, but every time Stevie Clarke was turning up to Celtic games this season, Cal McGregor kept pinging them in from outside the box. But I've got to say, his form, the goal scoring that he's obviously been doing this season, scoring from outside the area, that's something that's been so refreshing for me, because from where I sit at Celtic Park, the amount of times I'll be watching the game and looking down the park and I see it open up for him. And Cal McGregor has been one of the worst offenders over the last few years for always looking for an extra pass, just always looking to keep passing it sideways, keep moving it. Even under Ange, there's loads of times, again, you can see the line perfectly, the way the defence opens up, and it's on his left side, but he still looks to pass it. But this season, it just looks like Brendan's just told him that you've got it in you, you've got the ability to find the back of the net. And obviously the goals that he scored, all coming from outside the area, just with that left foot. The one against Hibs, which we were all out of seats celebrating that one, and then he goes and tops it against Rangers with an even better strike. mean, that goal was absolutely ridiculous. That was like, postage stamp stuff, the way it bent into the top corner. But yeah, it's been really, it feels like his form has picked up now that he's not got that international football, because there was a point in time a few years ago, David, I think he played more professional games in a calendar year than any player in Europe, because he just seemed to go on with no injuries. But now, of course, injuries have been catching up to him in recent years. So maybe that's been a telltale sign from his body, just saying to him that you need to slow down a wee bit and cutting international football out, especially with, obviously, Steve Clarke's got Scotland to a couple of tournaments. But as we saw in the summer, there's no good turning up to these tournaments if you're just going to turn up and get whipped, essentially. So Callum's got a couple of experiences now playing at tournaments. That's it. He's done his bit for the country. And yeah, it benefits us now to have him available, have him nice and rested for when we come back. Because obviously, the next game is Aberdeen at home. And that's a top of the table clash. 8 games into the season. Who would have thought it, David? Here we are, talking about Aberdeen in a couple of weeks, going to be a top of the table clash. 2 undefeated teams, and Aberdeen, the only team in all of Europe that have won every single game they've played this season. What a time to be alive. Oh, yeah. Mental. Crazy times.
It's like that Paul Rudd meme where it's like, look at us. Who'd have thought it? It's just Aberdeen fans saying it to each other. I know like Terry and Bhoys were talking about what they kind of want to see from Aberdeen this season. Obviously they want them to keep up the good form and make it a real interesting league. And obviously, like if it puts pressure, even more teams to put pressure on Rangers, and happy days. But we have to remember now that these, right at the very minute, they are our title challengers, and they will, I'm sure, prove to be a difficult side to play them. So we can't take them lightly, that's for sure. I mean, fair play. They went and signed a manager from a bit outside the box, a bit more left field signing, and it's paid off.
Yep.
He's playing some good football. They're getting last minute winners. They're playing like a real title contender side. Yep. So it will be an interesting game. We have to be on top form.
Definitely.
This is, bar the Dortmund game. This and obviously I know Falkirk game was a good game, but this could be the toughest game for us, certainly domestically so far this season. So I'm confident we'll beat them. But it'll be a walk in the park. It won't be a walk in the park, that's for sure. Some shrewd signings as well, signing Kevin Nisbet on loan.
Yep.
To replace Biowski was going to be a big ask. I think they've done well getting him in. And I'm sure he's enjoying his football right now at Aberdeen, and probably could see him signing permanently. Who knows, next window. Yep. Am I right in saying that they're one of their players is the top goal scorer in the league right now?
It could very well be. It's not something I've noticed, but it could be.
Double check that. I
definitely don't think it's one of our players. I think our goals are quite evenly spread throughout the team just now. But no, they're obviously going to be a dangerous team, and I would say I'd like them to keep it up, but not at our expense, obviously. But if they can sort of be a wee wedge, a wee buffer between us and Rangers, then that'd be smashing. But they've fair play to them. They went and made an outside the box appointment. Didn't just recycle the same old names that just do the rounds when it comes to managers. And yeah, it's looking good for them so far. So yeah, that'll be their first, I think, proper test though when they come to play us, and then of course we've got them again in the League Cup semi-final just a month later. So a double header, 2 big massive games coming up against Aberdeen. I think the first time Rangers play Aberdeen this season is at Pittodrie as well, and we have to play them next time we play them, like in the league will be at Pittodrie, then it'll be Celtic Park again for the third meeting. But Rangers will be the opposite; they'll be twice at Pittodrie and once at Celtic Park. So before the split. So that could be interesting, because if they turn Pittodrie into a fortress, then they can definitely keep it interesting. I mean, the last team that started the season like that outside of Celtic and Rangers was Hearts in the Romanov Revolution in the first season of Romanov, and they ended up finishing second. They finished second that season. So Aberdeen have started very similar to them. They clearly look like they could be a bit of a threat. So it's going to be a tasty fixture in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to that one when it comes around. But yeah, that's where we're at the moment. And say with Callum McGregor getting those rests now, not having to go away on international duty, then he's the type of player that we're going to need to step up in the games and take control in the midfield.
I mean, Ian McIntosh, he's right. We need domestic
Yep.
challenges. It's
Agreed.
healthy. It's competition. We need competition in this league because nights like we had in Dortmund can be avoidable if we are playing a far more competitive competition each week domestically. I mean, us beating the living hell out of a terrible St. Johnstone side before we go and play Dortmund. It's like I said, it's like me going up and just punching 4-year-olds in the lead up to a fight against Mike Tyson. It's just not. I ain't going to go into that fight like thinking I'm the man and then get absolutely smashed. Like it's just you can't do it. You can't just expect to just scud dross every week and then go and just step up an extremely massive jump in a level. It's just But again, it's how you approach these other games is I think still the bigger issue that we have as well. I don't know, Phil.
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. It seems to just to be we're just
well
on a merry-go-round.
Put it this way, well, what you're talking about, we play Aberdeen and the game after that is Atalanta away. So maybe your theory could come true that we play a much harder opposition domestically, and it might put us in good stead going into the Atlanta game. But again, we'll see how much lessons Celtic have learned. We playing going to Bergamo for that one. See how they get on there. But no, it's an exciting few games coming up because that's our first 2 games back after the break. We've also got a semi-final against Aberdeen as well before the next international break because, yes, there is another one still to come before the end of the year. So, yeah, we've got a few big games coming up in that block, and I believe the RB Leipzig game is also in that block of games too. So, yeah, it's all blockbuster at the moment for the next month. But yeah, we need to go over this international hurdle, another one. So yeah, batten down the hatches. We'll get through it, folks.
Yeah, we'll get through it. We'll get through the international break. We get into that Aberdeen game, get them out of the way. We're straight back into the Champions League, which is obviously where we want to be showcasing that we are capable of getting results in that league. And I do still believe, Phil, that we are capable. We are capable of doing it. The history has been kind to underdogs in the Champions League in the past, away from home. Like you said before, Real Madrid won, Sheriff 2 in the 2021-2022 season. Lens beat Arsenal 2-1 in the 2023-24 season. That was they making their only their 3rd ever appearance in the competition. And of course, back 2011-12, Basel beat Manchester United after they'd been in the Champions League final the season before. And Barcelona losing 2-1 to Rubin Kazan in 2020-2011 as well. And they were the peak. That was peak Barca. So it is possible. Football heritage, right? Football heritage. So let's hope there's some more football heritage on its way.
It's definitely still in our hands with the way the fixtures have came out, the way the fixture list is ordered, the home games that we've got. It's definitely still in our hands. We have to make the home games count because the away games are always going to be a bit of a stretch for Celtic. But the 4 home games, RB Leipzig is going to be the hardest one out of them. They are going to be a very, very decent outfit. Some pundits even say they're better than Dortmund. There's a scary thought. So yeah, we're going to be up against it there. But if we have a storming night that night, get the 3 points there, and then we've got Young Boys of Bern, we've got Club Bruges, and we've already played Slovan Bratislava at home. We keep talking about 10 points being the number that you need to get over the line. So that would give us 12 points. And obviously if we get Dynamo Zagreb away. What I just don't want is to be in a position is having to go to Aston Villa in the last game, needing something to qualify. Aston Villa beating Bayern Munich last week was big because we're hoping that Aston Villa, by the time we play them, they've already got through to the next round. That would be a big help as well. But I really don't want us to be in a position in that last game where we need to get something to scrape through to the next round, because that could be a really awkward night, that one. But we'll deal with that when we come. That's not till January. We've got a long way to go there, Dave, before we get there. So, yeah, that could be a ropey one, that one. But,
of course, Shell Tech 67 saying good luck to the girls tonight. is that Champions League they've got again tonight? Is that right?
Champions League, yeah. Then they qualified for the Champions League. They get Real Madrid in their group. I'm pretty sure they did in the Champions League group, Real Madrid. So that's
easy.
If it's like what the main went through against the Real Madrid a couple of seasons ago, then oh dear. I wonder if they've got a female Galacticos team.
They probably do. I mean, when I visited the Bernabeu in the summer there, they had all the players that registered to the club from right through to the babies, right through up to the senior team and the women's team, and it would tell you where they were signed from and how much and stuff, and it was they've got a good team there too, so they probably do have a Galacticos. Anyway, we'll wrap up there. That's been bang on an hour. Thanks to everyone that stuck with us. I know we had some stiff competition with, I think the scoreboard, some scoreboard was on at the same time. So if you chose to watch us instead of them, then we appreciate that. And for any of you that are going to listen or watch back later on, we appreciate you jumping on later. And so it's good to just get on and have a wee blather about the Celtic, So
Indeed.
And of course I'm sure you'll have your usual bus fixtures with the
TNF will be on this week definitely. Mark will be on with Russell on Thursday, but there's no game to look forward to at the weekend, so Friday Feeling won't be on because there's no game to look forward to. That's the whole idea of the Friday Feeling. But the TNF will definitely be on, so look out for that and hit that subscribe button. You'll be reminded when it's on the air, folks. And we can we'll head off, folks. We'll leave you to do and enjoy the rest of your night, whatever you get up to. And we will catch you on the next one.
Catch you there, guys.
See you then.